Have you ever walked through a forest, maybe on a hot summer day, and felt that unsettling awareness that you're not alone? That beneath the leaf litter, life is moving in a way we can barely comprehend? What if I told you that in some of the world's most dense jungles, an unseen war is being fought every single day? A conflict so massive, so ruthless, that it puts our own history of warfare to shame. We're not talking about human conflicts here. We're talking about the world of the army ant, a species that has mastered the art of biological warfare and collective survival. They're not just ants. They are a single, unified, living army, and their reign is absolute. So let's peel back the layers of the forest floor and reveal the terrifying and awe-inspiring truth about these nomadic hunters. The common misconception is that an ant colony is just a big family, a collection of individuals living in a mound. We picture a tidy little home, a queen laying eggs, and a few foragers scurrying back and forth. But with army ants, that notion is completely wrong. The reality is that an army ant colony is a superorganism, a biological machine where the individual is nothing and the collective is everything. The most iconic species, like Eceton burchellii, don't build permanent nests. Instead, they form what's called a bivouac, a temporary living nest made entirely of their own bodies, a seething, undulating ball of millions of ants clinging together to protect their queen and brood. This temporary housing isn't a sign of weakness, it's a strategic choice. They're built to be on the move. When they're in their statutory phase, the bivouac is a nursery, protecting thousands of eggs and larvae. But when the time comes, this living fortress disassembles and the entire colony hits the road. They march, not in a line, but in a vast, sprawling swarm raid that can be over 100 feet wide, a living wave of destruction. And here's the most mind-blowing fact. They can do all this without any single leader. There is no commanding officer, no general giving orders. The decisions are made through swarm intelligence, with each ant responding to the movements and pheromones of its immediate neighbors, creating an emergent behavior that is far more complex and efficient than any individual could ever be. It's the ultimate example of a decentralized system. How does a single unit of millions of ants move with such terrifying precision? The answer is even more astonishing. Imagine an army on the march. A chasm opens up, a crack in the earth, a fallen stick, a stream. A human army would need engineers to build the bridge. But the army ant has no need for tools or blueprints. When the foraging swarm encounters an obstacle, something incredible happens. The ants at the front of the swarm stop. They form a small group, and a few of them begin to climb on top of each other, linking their bodies with their mandibles and legs. They create a living, breathing bridge, a temporary structure that allows the rest of the millions of ants to walk right over them. It's a selfless sacrifice for the greater good of the colony. And here's the stunning part. This isn't random. Scientists have discovered that army ants use a sort of collective, unconscious cost-benefit analysis. An ant will only become part of a bridge if the benefit, the increased speed for the entire colony, outweighs the cost of pulling that single ant from the foraging effort. They won't form a bridge that's too long or too wide if it means sacrificing too many workers. The moment the traffic jam clears, the bridge disassembles itself and the ants rejoin the swarm. It's a real-time, fluid solution to a logistical problem, showcasing a level of intelligent cooperation that seems almost impossible. This is what makes their raids so incredibly successful. The sheer, overwhelming force of their numbers, amplified by this cooperative genius, allows them to dominate their territory. But what happens when their path crosses with another kingdom? When we think of war, we think of borders, resources, and power. For army ants, the stakes are just as high. Their nomadic lifestyle means they are constantly encroaching on the territory of other colonies, and not just other army ants. Their primary targets are other insects, particularly other ant and wasp species. A single swarm raid can decimate a whole colony of termites or fire ants, stripping their nests clean. But what happens when two rival army ant colonies collide? This is where the term World War of the Ants really comes into play. These aren't small skirmishes, they are full-scale conflicts. When two large foraging swarms meet, the clash is instant and brutal. Millions of individuals collide fighting for dominance over a patch of forest floor. The soldiers, with their massive, scissor-like mandibles, lead the charge, while the smaller workers continue to forage, bringing back the bodies of the fallen from both sides. It's a war of attrition, and the outcome often determines which colony gets to continue its reign in that area. An incredible fact is that in some cases, the victors will even adopt the surviving brood of the losing colony, assimilating them and their resources to grow their own numbers. This isn't just a battle for food, it's a battle for genetic dominance, a ruthless strategy for exponential growth. But there's a surprising twist to this story of unstoppable conquest. Given their aggressive nature, you'd think nothing could live alongside these marauding hordes. But the world of the army ant is a bustling ecosystem in itself, a bizarre economy of parasites and opportunists. While the ants are nearly blind, relying on chemical signals and touch, they leave a trail of pheromones that acts as a signal to an entire caste of camp followers. These are creatures that have evolved to live in the shadow of the army ant's war machine. They're species of birds, like the antbird, that follow the foraging swarm, feasting on the insects and spiders that flee from the advancing wave of ants. There are even species of silverfish that live right in the heart of the bivouac, covering themselves in the ants' scent to avoid detection and stealing their food. But the weirdest relationship is between the army ants and the myrmecophiles, or ant lovers. These are other species of insects that have evolved to look, smell, and even act like the ants, blending in to steal food or live a parasitic life. The silverfish is one example, but there are even beetles that mimic the ants' dance, tapping their antennae in just the right way to get a free meal. The army ant, for all its power and ferocity, is not an isolated force. It is the engine of a hidden, complex food web, a testament to the intricate and sometimes bizarre connections in nature. It shows that even the most feared creature in the jungle can become the center of its own little universe. If you found this microscopic world as fascinating as we do, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the weirdest and most wonderful corners of our world. And let us know in the comments below, what was the most mind-blowing fact you learned about the army ant today? Was it the living bridges, the massive swarms, or the bizarre creatures that follow them? So the next time you think of an ant, don't just see a tiny insect. See a soldier, a builder, and a crucial piece of a living machine. The army ant reminds us that true power lies not in the individual, but in the collective, and that even the smallest creatures can wage wars on a truly epic scale. In a world full of giants, sometimes the greatest armies are the ones you can fit on a forest floor.